Let's watch Glenn Beck sundown on the internet more. It's kind of pathetic. He used to be on, like, regular TV. How's it going, everybody? I'm McRed2. Welcome back to the channel. Before we get started, I want to say thanks for tuning in. Feel free to subscribe, hit the like button. I try to upload twice a week. Been out of town for the last couple of weeks, so I wasn't able to record, but I'm getting back in the swing of things. But today, we're going to be watching Blaze TV. Glenn Beck and some bald dude, I'm not sure who he is, whining about how the Democrats are trying to save lives when I just want my turkey. I'm not going to do any body shaming in this video. I'm just going to try to attack the arguments they're going to make on their merits and try to kind of explain to people that you should care about other people. Your ability to get together for 1 year to eat turkey and celebrate the colonization and genocide of indigenous people, it's not as important as, you know, saving hundreds of thousands of lives. There has been a massive spike in COVID cases since Election Day when people were in-person voting at the polls. I believe it was 2 days ago. I believe the 18th, I think, had a record of, I believe it was like 200,000 cases. I'm not 100% sure. I know it's been in the last few days. We hit 200,000 cases in 1 day in the U.S., and they're still wanting to have massive family gatherings with young and old alike congregating under one roof, breathing on each other, touching the same utensils, and you know nobody's going to be wearing masks at these things. But let's listen to them whine about Thanksgiving.
I mean, there's only well, 3 off the top of my head governors that I can think of that are.
I do want to say again, I do like Glenn Beck's microphone. I really like the aesthetic of that microphone. But this guy, this microphone, that's a Shure SM7B. You're supposed to talk into the front of it. Like into the front of the microphone. My microphone picks things up from the side, from the side of it, so I talk into the side of it. The Shure SM7B, you're supposed to talk directly into the top of it, yet he's got it canted to the side. Do you not know how to use your microphone? Is this not a professional? Is this not a professional production? It looks pretty professional. It looks like it got set up here, and oh my god, I'm seeing the sign right here. Biden likes minors. Oh my god, I hate that stupid fucking conspiracy theory that's going around about Biden being a pedophile, despite the fact that he's never been accused of it. But anyway, I just wanted to point out the microphone thing.
Standing firm, right? Yeah, Kristi Noem.
Yep.
Ron DeSantis.
Yep.
And I would put Greg Abbott in there.
I would too, because he just said that he's not going to lock down again. We're not going to lock down.
No lockdown. And one of
stupid. It's so stupid that these governors are not wanting to lock down their states again, despite the fact that the curve of the infection is so much higher than it was when we locked down the first time. Let's take a look. Yeah, take a look at this. Take a look at this graph right here. I'll get my camera out of the way so you guys can take a look at it. Look at that. This is when we locked down before at about 27,000 cases per day, and then we locked down and the curve flattened instead of continuing up, which was the whole point. The whole point of the lockdown was to flatten the curve, and then things opened up in July. I remember July 4th weekend was the first weekend that the bars were open in Washington State, and look, it spiked again. And in some states, they reinstated some lockdown procedures, but it came back down again. And now we're seeing here in October, especially considering Election Day was right around here, we're seeing a continued spike. Now we're most of the way through November now. Bring me back here. We're mostly through November. At this point, it's the 22nd at the time of recording, and the spike is still going up. We've reached over well over 100,000 cases per day in the U.S. So we're having massive spikes in COVID cases, and some governors, like Governor Inslee in Washington State and the governor of Oregon, are reinstating some lockdown procedures, but they're not even lockdowns. They're reinstating some restrictions, like no dine-in restaurants. It all has to go back. It goes back to being all to go. again, thankfully, and restricting social gatherings to 5 people again. But we aren't even having another lockdown. And President-elect Biden has said that he's not going to lock down the country, despite saying that he was going to do that when he was on the campaign trail, which was something that made me really happy, because we do need a legitimate lockdown with a legitimate stimulus package so people can stay home, so we can save lives. But as it stands right now, we're having 180 to 200,000 new cases a day, and hospitals are beginning to get overwhelmed again, and these guys are going to whine about how some governors are trying to cancel Thanksgiving, which we shouldn't be going to in the first place.
The one of the constituents, I'm sure, that works for the Los Angeles Times or the Miami Herald has decided that, make no mistake, that decision will kill people.
No, shut up.
It will, absolutely. Not locking down, not putting any restrictions in place, and especially on social gatherings. It will kill people. We're having increases in daily COVID deaths as well. I believe yesterday we had 1,500 deaths. Like when I try to explain to COVID deniers or anti-maskers how serious COVID-19 is for the country, and how many people truly are dying from this virus, I compare it to 9/11, where about 2,000 people died in one day on 9/11, which we all remember 9/11 because we'll never forget. It's seared into our collective minds as a nation. And yet we're getting 9/11. At one point, we were getting 9/11 every single day. And we're getting back to that point again. Every other day or so, every 48 hours, we have about a 9/11's worth of deaths in this country. Every 48 hours from COVID. Yet people aren't taking it seriously. So yeah, not instituting lockdown procedures, not instituting restrictions on social gatherings, is going to kill people. It will kill people. It'll kill people like you, Glenn. You're fucking old and you're overweight. Not body shaming, but obesity and being overweight is a comorbidity which makes you more susceptible to COVID. It is. You are more likely to die from COVID if you are overweight. Now, they have come out with, the FDA just approved thimerosal and the other experimental drug that President Trump had access to when he got his COVID diagnosis. So those were approved, and we have had 3 vaccines now at this point that have all finished their clinical testing with very high success rates. So we are seeing improvements in our response to it medically, but socially we're not, and it's going to kill people. And they're laughing.
Shut up.
I know.
No, I won't.
I don't understand.
No, we're supposed to destroy our economies. We're supposed to roll over and play dead for this thing. It's asinine.
We can either play dead for this thing, or we can be dead from this thing. Those are our 2 options. We can do what other countries have done when they shut down their economy, is they rolled out stimulus packages for their citizens with a monthly UBI so they could still pay their rent, pay their mortgage, pay their utilities, buy their essential goods that they need, which kept their economy going. It did take a hit. Every single country has taken an economic hit from the lockdowns associated with COVID-19, but all of those countries' economies have fared far better than the United States economy has as a result of the lockdowns, because they gave their citizens a monthly stimulus check or a UBI for them to stay home so they could flatten the curve. The United States government has given us $1,200 once, back in April. We're coming up on a year almost. We're about 4 months away from it being a year since we got any sort of economic relief from the government. And what's sad is the government passed 3 stimulus checks, and the first 2 all went to Wall Street. And these right-winger types like to complain about how the shutdown is killing small businesses, despite the fact that of the something like $7 trillion in stimulus packages that have been approved by the government, the first 2 of them, the 2 biggest ones, all went to major corporations. None of them went to small business. The third one, which is the one where we got the stimulus checks to the American people, included a small provision for small businesses that allowed them to apply for a no-interest loan from a bank to try and keep their lights on and keep their employees employed. But large businesses like Walmart, Apple, Samsung, Boeing, the airlines, all of these massive companies got trillions of dollars worth of economic relief. But small businesses aren't, yet these people are blaming the government for killing small businesses with these lockdowns, when it's the government that's refusing to offer them any help during the lockdowns.
New Michigan restrictions kicking in.
Let's go ahead and speed this
Gretchen
up, because these
Whitmer
people are
is,
old and talk slow.
The Wicked Witch of the Midwest.
Yeah, no kidding.
Here are 14 major
they're-
changes.
They're referring to Gretchen Whitmer as the Wicked Witch of the Northwest of the Midwest. She's the woman that the right-wing militia tried to kidnap and murder or burn down the state house if they weren't successful with that just like a month and a half ago, and yet they're still shit-talking her and still riling up the far right-wing base that watches them, which could lead to more violence because she's instated restrictions to help abate COVID. These people are disgusting.
They're doing in Michigan. High school classes must now be conducted remotely. College
Good.
classes must now be conducted remotely.
Good.
Work must be done remotely, unless the
Good.
job absolutely has to be done in person.
Yes, we have the technology to be able to do all of those things remotely. There's no reason why we have to do them in person. Certainly not right now.
So you can't, I guess you can't remotely do construction?
No.
You can't do that on...
Exactly. Which is why businesses that absolutely cannot be done remotely are still being allowed to be done in person. That's literally what that clause in that restriction is for. Oh my God. Are you mocking the concession that was given specifically for those kinds of businesses? That's why it was put in there. Yeah, construction can't be done remotely, which is why they made a concession for things like construction.
on your computer and make the cinder block move over to where it needs to be.
Eventually we'll be able to. Automation will get to the point where, yeah, you'll log onto a computer and a robot will move the cinder block where it needs to be. Or they'll just hit a button on a computer program and nobody needs to actually log on, and the robot will just build the building. It will eventually get to that point.
And you can't hammer the nail
I mean, that's
into
what
the
we're
wood.
doing on the moon and Mars, is sending robots.
Right.
We do that here.
Right.
Yeah, we should
Indoor
do that
dining
here.
is no longer allowed at bars
Good.
or restaurants.
Wow.
Get this. Organized sports are no longer permitted.
Yes,
With the
good.
exception of professional sports. And
Yeah, professional sports, because they have the funding to be able to test their players regularly, give them the health care they need if they do get infected, and they have massive stadiums that can be left empty for the players to spread out at, socially distance at, and still be able to entertain the people that are stuck at home. I think it's dumb that professional sports are still going, but I guess people need entertainment. I mean, I do this to entertain people, but I can do it by myself in my spare bedroom. So that's what I do. I don't sports too good, so I don't really watch sports anyway. So I don't really care if they canceled it anyway. But yeah, sports should be canceled. Absolutely. Businesses, restaurants should be dine out only, because you can do that now. Almost every single major restaurant, and even small business restaurants, have an app or a website where you can order online, or you can pick up ye olde telephone like you did back in the day and call them and place an order and pick it up and eat it in your car or take it home. Those businesses can still continue to get revenue, and in many states they're allowing bars and restaurants that serve alcohol to have little to-go baggies of alcohol that can be sealed so they can be transported home, so you can still sell alcohol and make your money that way. I mean, you're not going to sit at the bar and drink 7 drinks, but you can still buy your $14 fruity drink that my wife likes at Red Robin. I don't think it's $14, but still, she gets like the strawberry lemonade with vodka in it, and she says it tastes good. It's expensive, but she could still get that. That's still, they're still making money. It's just they're not sitting in the restaurant putting people at risk. The businesses are still open. Their employees can still get paid.
a select number of NCAA sports. She knows. If she shuts down Michigan Wolverines and the Michigan State Spartans, her reign of terror is over. I wonder.
She doesn't have a reign of terror, and 2, yeah, people, especially in Michigan, they love their hockey especially, but they love their sports, as people do all over the U.S. and they need entertainment at home. I disagree with it, but I don't think it's unreasonable for multi-million or even in some cases billion-dollar corporations that run these sports to remain open because they have the funding to be able to do so safely. High school sports don't. Public sports don't. Minor league sports don't. Professional sports, they have the funding to be able to do so safely and I guess entertain people at home. I don't care.
If the Wolverines actually wanted to reconsider that and include them in this.
That's a good point.
The way
Jesus Christ, what is that potato quality? Like I'm using a $35 action cam from Home Depot, I guess, that I got for Christmas last year as my camera. So like I don't have the best camera quality. Look at that. It's a little blurry, but like it's 1080. What in the hell is this? What is that? That looks like this. Hi, this is the webcam from my laptop. And this is my decent camera. Like, this is a major... This has high production value. They've got very expensive microphones, Microsoft Surface tablets, a whole fucking set. Like, they've got money. If this guy's working remotely, which they all should be, why couldn't they just spend $35 on a cheap action camera? It'll get the job done. Jesus.
they're playing.
But, all joking aside, they all need that money, that TV money.
Big time.
Play it.
Yeah.
Play it.
Well, once they realized, wait, we're not going to get the TV money?
Yeah.
We don't play football this
We
year?
should probably play. We should probably play.
Wait,
You know
we're going to lose $120 million this year? Huh?
You know what?
You know
Let's
what?
play.
We're going to play.
Let's play.
Let's play ball.
Let's play.
Yeah, they stopped mocking Nebraska wanting to play football after they ran the numbers, huh?
They
Yeah,
sure
they
did.
sure did.
But then they punished Nebraska by making them run the gauntlet from the very beginning of the season.
Oh my gosh, they implemented COVID restrictions on a multi-million-dollar industry so that they could do so safely because they didn't have those systems in place before and they had to develop them. Oh my god, it looks like they did that and now they can safely play. And yeah, sports do generate a lot of revenue for their state, especially in-person sports, but they can't even have that. So they're missing out on a shit ton of revenue and a shit ton of tax dollars by not allowing fans in the stands of these sports arenas, but they're still allowing people to have their entertainment. Why you guys are complaining about getting your way? This is pathetic. My fucking 18-month-old daughter makes better arguments than this when she wants things. If she gets her way, she doesn't whine about it.
Change number 6. Group fitness classes no longer allowed. Theaters and movie
Good.
theaters must close.
Good.
Stadiums and arenas must close. Bowling
Good.
alleys closed. Ice skating rinks closed.
Good.
Indoor water parks closed. Bingo halls
Good.
will be closed. Casinos
Good.
closed. And arcades closed.
Wow. I mean,
Good.
People's livelihoods gone.
So many
Yeah, maybe the government should do something to subsidize those people's livelihoods because they had to be shut down for public health.
businesses
Gone.
that are just going to go belly up. What are you supposed to do when you can't open your doors again?
Yeah.
Or maybe in some cases
Ever.
still.
Right.
By design.
It is, because this is the Great Reset.
The Great Reset. The Great Reset. I've heard that term so many times. These far right-wing conspiracy theorists think that COVID is a hoax, that it's that it was made by the far left and it's not real, but it's a narrative made by the far left to try and reset the U.S. economy into socialism, despite the fact that, one, they don't know what the fuck socialism actually is, and two, turning just the U.S. into an actual socialist state won't fucking work because of how intertwined our economy is with the rest of the world. Like, if the means of production in the United States were handed over to the workers through some government conspiracy that put in legislation that made it so that the workers owned the companies they worked at, the major companies would just leave. That's the problem with instituting socialism in just the US. It's why it won't work, because they'll just go to other countries so that the capital owners can keep making money hand over fist and exploiting workers, and that would crash the US economy. It's not happening. It's not gonna happen. But these conspiracy theorists they are grasping at straws as to a justification for why the left is doing all of this and hurting our economy with these COVID restrictions, instead of realizing that COVID is a real and present danger, is a massive threat to millions of Americans. We have 4% of the world's population and currently have 1/5 of the COVID cases and 1/5 of the world's deaths. We are the richest country in the history of mankind. How is that possible? How is that happening? How is that happening and it just be a left-wing hoax? How are 250,000 people dying from this virus just a conspiracy to reset our government into socialism? I don't understand it.
Wherever you see these Democrat governors, I think they're part of this great reset thing. They want you to fail so they can restart the economy as a socialist economy.
And that is a claim that we talked about, the 4 to 6 weeks lockdown.
Yeah.
Once Biden gets into office, right? He's talking about we can do that 4 to 6 weeks, just lock it down, everything closed.
Yeah,
and we'll just pay everybody from.
Except he's publicly said since winning the election that he's not going to do that. I wouldn't be surprised if Biden just recants on all of the left-wing policies, the far left-wing policies that he claimed to support during this campaign. All presidents do that. They make these wild promises and don't follow through on half of them. But you guys don't know what socialism is, and making a bunch of small businesses fail is the worst way to implement actual socialism. Having a lot of small businesses would actually make the transition to a true socialist economy much easier than trying to force these multinational corporations to hand over the ownership of the means of production to the workers and to take that vast amount of wealth away from the capitalist class. You're just so fucking stupid that you don't know what you're talking about.
We've got enough money. We have enough money in savings and everything to take care of it. No problem. Lock it down.
Enough money in savings. And you know the savings they're talking about? Those are individual private citizen savings. You're going to tap into that?
Well, duh.
You're going to take savings from the American people? Well, yeah, they were only at savings at 8% before. Now it's 20%. So how does that help the government?
You guys talked about the...
You mean, what you just said there means, and I don't know if that's true or not, but just taking what you said on face value, people's personal savings, the average person's personal savings during the pandemic has gone up 12%, which means it has been good for the individual to lock down. I doubt that's true because we have 40 million people that are currently on the doorstep of eviction. But if that was true, that means the lockdown was good for the average person, which is what conservatives claim to care about. We all know that they only care about propping up the bourgeois class, but they claim to care about the little guy. So if these lockdowns are helping the little guy, why is it a bad thing?
The few governors that, in your opinion, are still standing firm.
I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah,
I understand. I understand. What I'm saying is, if this is tried on a federal level, if Biden seriously goes through with this in January,
he won't.
You're going to have to reset that list. And we're going to see which governors actually believe in federalism. And we're going to see the separation of powers in this country.
Oh, yeah.
And
this is more fear-mongering about a potential civil war, which is not going to happen. But states can't just ignore federal mandates on this kind of scale. They can legalize things that the federal government has deemed illegal, such as gay marriage and, for a time in Washington state, and marijuana in many states. But as far as a federal mandate for a lockdown, they wouldn't be able to do that. And I'm sure the federal government would withhold federal aid from states that did not adhere to that guideline if they did.
Who takes the Constitution seriously and who doesn't?
Oh, yeah. Well, DeSantis is the only one, maybe Noam has too, that has already said, I will not do that.
Yeah, and they're not telling people how to do Thanksgiving either. And everybody else is. Everybody else is telling us, you can't have anybody but your own household there. So anybody who lives with you, go ahead and eat with them that night, but nobody else. Shut up. People aren't going to do that.
And
I'm sorry, they're not.
Yeah, people aren't going to do that, and people are going to die because of it.
Going to do that.
And I think Pennsylvania now is telling you that if you do not belong to that household, wear a mask.
Yes. Yeah, right.
So
Okay.
if
At the house
you don't
on
belong to
Thanksgiving,
that household,
wear a mask.
Now,
yes,
the cool thing
good.
in Oregon, though,
I mean, they shouldn't be there in the first place, but if you're going to go there, wear a mask. Everybody should be wearing masks.
While you can't celebrate Thanksgiving with your loved ones, it is legal now to possess heroin.
You can mainline with them. Yeah,
yeah,
the
like
family
not
can still
legal.
mainline together.
Let's
You
be
got
clear.
cocaine.
I know what this is about. Oregon, during the election, on election day, decriminalized all drugs, meaning that you won't be arrested and thrown in jail for years for having meth or coke or anything like that. You'll receive a $500 fine because it's still not legal to possess it, and then you will be given options for rehabilitation facilities and given help for it instead of just thrown in prison. All they did was decriminalize it. It's still illegal, but you can't be arrested. You'll be fined, and then you'll be given help.
Not legal.
It's
Methamphetamine.
Decriminalized.
Right, which is
Oh,
almost the same
It's
thing.
not legal.
It's essentially the same.
It's not the same thing. It's not essentially the same thing. No, it is not. Drugs being decriminalized and drugs being legal are two very different things. It being decriminalized means it's still illegal to possess it, which is why you can be fined and you'll be given help. If it was legal, they wouldn't bother you. They wouldn't offer you help, but they wouldn't fine you. They're just not arresting you and filling their prisons full of non-violent drug offenders.
Same thing.
I can still get in trouble a little.
A little bit. It might give you a fine, right? Isn't that the...
Yeah, there we go. So you just contradicted yourself in 30 seconds. You're so stupid.
The worst they can do?
Yeah.
See, this is what happens when old people try to give their opinions on current events when they're so outdated in their views. I'm not saying it should be illegal because everybody should have their freedom of speech, but we shouldn't take these fucking boomers seriously the way we do as a country. Holy shit. They can't even form a coherent argument. They complain when they get their way and they contradict themselves within the same minute, within the same sentence almost. It's absolutely ridiculous that people take these shit brains seriously. These smooth brain chuds are being taken seriously by millions of Americans. Maybe not necessarily Glenn Beck, but there are plenty of boomers on TV and on the internet that millions of people watch every single day. And people listen to what they have to say, despite the fact that they're so disconnected from what's actually going on in the country because they're too old to keep up.
Yeah. So the family that mainlines together stays together.
There you
The
go,
family
baby.
that does Thanksgiving together dies.
Don't worry about that.
Dies together.
The
SWAT team
virus
shows
Yeah,
up.
they will
winning.
die.
The virus is winning.
The virus is winning because we aren't doing enough to stop it. New Zealand doesn't have any lockdown procedures. They aren't even wearing masks. They aren't even social distancing because they have been COVID free for 2 months because they put in lockdown procedures and restrictions, and their population, listen, they followed the rules, and look at what happened.
Did we talk about the meme on the air of the SWAT team knocking down the door? We heard you have a turkey that serves 12 people in there.
That's great.
You have to buy one of those out the back door of the grocery store.
And the sad thing about that meme is it's not far from...
No,
it is true.
not.
It's just a true meme.
No, it's not. No, it is not. The fucking FBI, the police are not going to knock down your door because you bought a large turkey. They're not they aren't even arresting people for... They aren't arresting people. They aren't fining people. There are no actual negative legal consequences for not following mandates and guidelines. 2 people so far that we know of that have made mainstream news have been arrested for not wearing a mask in social circumstances. One of them was at a high school football game or track meet or some shit like that, or it was a graduation. She didn't wear a mask at the graduation. This was months ago, and she got tased and arrested because she resisted the cops and tried to fight them. I'm not saying that the cops were right for doing that because fuck 12, but she still was arrested. And there was another individual that was arrested for refusing to wear a mask in a store and refusing to leave the store. And they weren't arrested for not wearing the mask. They were arrested for trespassing because the owner of the store told them to leave. So they weren't even arrested for not following COVID guidelines. They were arrested for trespassing. There are no legal ramifications so far that we have seen for not following these guidelines.
It's not funny anymore. It's just real life. Thank you.
No, it's not.
All right. Apparently...
This dude has pictures printed out and written on in Sharpie. He's got a computer right in front. It's right here. There is a computer. He is such a boomer. He can't even use the computer in front of him. He has to use a printed out piece of paper that he wrote on with Sharpie.
Here's another thing I love. These the officials that are they're shutting things down all over the country. The governors and the mayors are the same people who are ignoring their own rules almost in every case.
And they've been
doing it all
publicly
the time.
ridiculed.
Now we've got some
it.
images here of Governor Newsom at a big party at French Laundry, which is a big restaurant.
Yeah.
Really nice, ritzy restaurant. And he apparently went and partied at the French Laundry. And here he is. Oh, there he is right now. Nobody at the table wearing a mask, of course. At the gathering.
Yeah.
Super nice.
At businesses where they allow indoor dining, you're not required to wear a mask while you're eating. You sit down, take the mask off, you finish your meal, you put the mask on before you leave. That's how it works. They were enjoying a meal. I'm not saying they were right, but it doesn't look like they were breaking any COVID guidelines at the time this picture was taken. There was less than 10 people at that table, and they were all sitting down eating without masks. I'm not seeing any COVID. Right here, they're standing without masks. Sure, that's wrong. I'm not saying what they're doing is right, but it's definitely not what they're portraying it as.
Nice place.
Is that a night robe?
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a designer jacket.
I mean,
Just step out of the shower?
I'm not downplaying fashion, but is the wife wearing a robe?
Maybe all her clothes were in the laundry. Not the French laundry, but
That looks like a dress. Like, it's ugly. I don't like it, but it looks like some sort of designer dress. What the fuck? Why are you ridiculing her dress? I thought this was you complaining about them not following their own guidelines, even though with the exception of what's going on in this particular image, it looked like they were.
Wait, that's the name of the place?
Yeah, it's
That's
called
the name
French
of it?
Laundry. Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's stupid.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it's very exclusive, though. They do pretty well. So here he is apologizing for the party.
Yeah, to be fair, he did it
To
well.
minimize mixing, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge something just before we go into the Q&A. And that is very soberly acknowledge that a few weeks ago, I was asked to go to a friend's 50th birthday.
Yeah.
My wife and I, a friend that I've known for almost 20 years. And
So he
it's okay for you.
acknowledges his
Yeah,
mistake.
Right.
well, put a lot of
Well,
time
we're
and energy
friends.
into his 50th birthday. It was in Napa, which was in the
Pause it for a
orange
second.
stat.
See, none of the rest of us have that kind of situation. No.
So they aren't even listening to his explanation or his apology. They're just saying, oh, he had to apologize for it publicly. So he's getting ridiculed for not following the rules. We aren't just sweeping it under the rug. We aren't ignoring it. It's not rules for thee, but not for me. He broke the rules and he has to own up to it. Golly, just like everybody else. Oh my God. It's almost as though he's a fallible human being who did something wrong and is being held accountable for it. And he said in the clip a few weeks ago, so the new COVID guidelines wouldn't even apply to him because these guidelines that they're whining about that are going to save lives were not in place weeks ago. Like the guy said, the birthday party took place. Jesus Christ.
None of the rest
We
of
don't
us.
have friends
we
for
don't have
20
friends
years.
who turn a certain age. We don't have any of that. Nobody invites us anywhere.
Nobody invites you, Glenn Beck, anywhere because you're kind of washed up, which is why you're sundowning on the internet.
We can't go out to the French Laundry or any other restaurant because we don't have that kind of social crowd around
That's
us.
exactly right.
It's all
Are you really whining that you don't have friends? I haven't gone out with my friends. I've gone out with my friends a couple of times, social distance, and there was 4 of us.
only the elite. He needed to. All right, let's see the rest of this apology.
50th
Sure,
birthday.
it's
It was
heartfelt.
in Napa, which was in the orange status, relatively loose compared to some other counties.
Sure.
So it was in orange status. So it had even lower COVID restrictions than other counties. Okay, so he didn't break any rules.
It was an outdoor restaurant.
It was outdoor. Oh my God. So he's literally pointing out how he didn't break any of the rules. And they're whining about him not breaking rules. What the fuck?
And we started the
Outdoors. We just saw you
program
indoors.
started at 4 o'clock. It was one of those
Pause it
early-
for a second.
It was,
Yeah.
it was supposed to be out.
But it was indoor.
But-
Why?
Well, when he got
know.
there, they went inside.
Well, no, they were so loud. The party was so loud they had to close the door, so they were completely indoors.
Did
do you have any
governor
proof
of the
of
state
this?
say, hey, you know what? You're breaking my rules?
He should have. He admits to that.
Okay, let's see the rest.
program started at 4 o'clock. It was one of those early reservations. I got there a little bit late at 4:30. And as
not
soon as I
late,
sat
'cause he
down
shuts it down at
the
10.
larger table, I realized it was a little larger group than I had anticipated.
Oh, no.
And I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have
You should have.
stood up and
You
walked back,
should,
got in my
yeah,
car, and drove
yeah.
back
Oh,
to
wow.
my house.
Right.
Instead,
Yeah,
I
but
chose to
instead,
sit there with my
you
wife
chose to be a
and a number of
hypocrite.
other couples
Okay.
that were outside the household. You can quibble about
Look at him acknowledging his hypocrisy, despite the fact that he just explained how all of his everything about the event didn't violate any rules in an orange coded county. They use, I guess, color codes. In Washington, they use phase numbers per county. but he didn't break any rules technically. He just set a bad example for people, and he's owning up to that. I don't understand you, Glenn. He didn't break any rules. He's just explaining that he set a bad example, and you're complaining about him breaking rules he didn't break. You're just jealous because he has friends. It's okay. When you get older, the grandkids stop coming over because, well, you're Glenn Beck, so they don't want to be around your extreme right-wing vitriol. And, you know, people stop coming and visiting, your friends start dying off. I understand it's rough, it's hard. But just because you don't have friends doesn't mean that other people aren't allowed to. And when they're not breaking rules, there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. I think it may have been irresponsible as a public figure to do so, but he, again, wasn't breaking any rules.
The guidelines, et cetera, et cetera.
But the spirit of what I'm doing is right.
So I want to apologize to you because I need to.
Yeah, he literally just said right there, I didn't break any rules, but the spirit of my guidelines were broken, and I want to acknowledge that. So he broke the spirit of the law, but he didn't violate the law or the regulation, but he didn't violate said regulation.
Preach.
And practice. Right. Apology not accepted. I'm sorry. The leftists never accept apologies. I'm not accepting yours.
We do accept apologies. I used to be a right-wing chud. I slid down that alt-right pipeline pretty hard. I didn't become like an alt-righter or a Nazi, but I was pretty bigoted. I have since changed my ways, redirected my course, apologized to people that I may have hurt, and the left has accepted me. Like, I haven't been disowned by anybody because I did bad things. I apologized for them and made corrections and corrected my actions. And I haven't been rejected by the left. So yeah, the left does accept apology as long as there's action behind said apology. So you're just wrong.
Been out, I think, for 3 times since.
Listen to this.
3 times.
He's
I
just dancing.
I know. Dinners very,
You can quibble about the restrictions.
Sure, we can quibble.
Twice with my wife by myself outdoors, and then this one occasion with a larger group. And there were just a few extra people.
And there were just a few extra people,
then
like 49 extra people. Just the spirit of the law was broken.
Minimize mixing. You got to own up to that. So I just want folks to know that. Paid for our dinner, and we.
You paid for your dinner?
We had an early dinner.
Okay, you didn't get it free. It was early, and they paid for it.
Yeah, the dude's rambling a bit, but he's being very thorough with his apology, despite the fact that he didn't actually break any regulations. He understands that it looks bad and it broke the spirit of the rules, and he is owning up to it. A lot of public figures won't do that, and you're mocking him for doing what you claim the left never does. So we're damned if we do, and we're damned if we don't. We can't make you guys happy. Eventually, and rightly, we're just gonna stop. There's no reason for us to try and get your acceptance or your forgiveness because we don't want it, because it's trash and you're terrible people.
So when they didn't steal the food.
You pay the price, but you also own the mistake. You don't ever do it again. You have my word on that. And just know,
we got his word, and his word is, the word. The word. All right, shut up. I can't take it anymore.
Yeah, well, we can quibble back. You can quibble about the restrictions.
Sure, but I'm not going to because I'm an elitist. And the next time you catch me out doing something I told you not to do, I'll just apologize again for it and say, I'm really important and I need to do these things.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Glenn Beck has violated COVID restrictions repeatedly because he doesn't believe in COVID restrictions. He doesn't believe COVID is real. So he's not going to apologize for all of the times he likely has violated those restrictions. And yet he is demanding apologies for people that do take the virus seriously and do follow restrictions for when they do slip up, like the governor did and apologized for, despite the fact that he didn't break the letter of the restrictions. And he acknowledged that while he didn't break the letter of the law, so to speak, he still violated the spirit of what the restrictions were about and owned it on national television, or at least state television, and on the internet, because you have the clip. So that was Glenn Beck whining about people wanting to save lives, whining that he's not going to go get to eat turkey with his grandkids that don't like him, whining that the government is finally going to start taking this pandemic seriously, and whining that governors are having to do what the federal government currently is not. Please social distance. I'll try to get this up before Thanksgiving. If you're going to Thanksgiving, don't. But if you do, wear a mask, socially distance. Don't go to a massive family gathering. Try to keep it to as minimal as possible. I know people want to see their families. I know this the quarantine has been hard on everybody. It's been hard on me. It's been hard on my family. My daughter has had to spend the last 9 months indoors predominantly. It's been rough. I understand that, but we're talking about human lives here, and we've already lost 250,000 people. And we're projected to lose another 250,000 more before January. The vaccine will be available until mid-2021. Once that happens, these restrictions potentially could go away and we can go back to normal socially. I don't think we should go back to normal, but that's probably what's going to happen. But until then, we have to try and keep people safe. So please stay home. Don't go to Thanksgiving. And if you're gonna, try to be as safe as you can about it and quarantine afterwards. But yeah, I've been McRed2. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, hit the subscribe button. You can follow me at my socials down here. You can follow me on Twitter. I usually tweet before I go live because I stream on Twitch. I stream on Twitch Saturday nights and Sunday nights usually. If I have a day off during the week, I'll try and stream then too to get a little bit extra content out there. But you come hang out with me, watch me play video games. I don't do any of my political content on there. But if you have questions, feel free to come by and ask them. I'll try and answer them on air for you. If you want to join the conversation, you can join the Discord server. Yeah, I think that's about it. But thanks for tuning in. Until the next one, peace.